Is flipping sports cards as easy as it looks on the YouTube?
Guaranteed all of that. The pure Michael Jordan rookie card.
Today we'll be talking about this. I'll be reacting to Flipping Steve's video on this subject that came out yesterday. Guys, thanks very much for joining me here today. We are back again. It's another sports card video. How are we doing today?
You all right, man? I think so. How about now?
Before I dive in, thank you to today's video sponsor, Drip, the live streaming marketplace for all the varieties of collectibles that you might be looking for, whether it be sports cards or non-sports cards, culture cards, comic books, a variety of different types of collectibles on the site, and it's fun doing the live streaming thing, so definitely check them out. I will put a link in the video description as well as pin a link to go there in the comments. All right, one of my good hobby friends, Flippin' Steve, put out a video yesterday, and I thought that the timing of it was very, very good, especially just given kind of the macroeconomic environment that we are facing right now, which, we talk a lot about at this channel about, of course, positive things that are going on. When you go to sports card shows, they're jam-packed. People are spending money. There are a lot of people that do have disposable income that are out there just having a great time. Prices have come down on a lot of key cards, which presents opportunities. And even on the low end, there's a lot of good kind of buying and selling opportunities on that low to mid end. Pricing has come down way down from where we saw it going back a couple of years. And I think that that's kind of the crux of this thing that we need to really dive into and get across to not just people that might be my age or older, but the young people that are into the hobby, getting into the hobby, or have been watching from afar, watching their favorite vloggers or whatever it is, and passing the basic concept that buying and selling, flipping sports cards, while it might look easy on the internet, whether we're on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, it's really not easy in today's climate. It's really not. And part of the issue I think that Steve mentioned is there's not really very much talk about the other side of the coin. There's a lot of positive motivational type things. Hustle game, which, hey, I respect it. I'm a part of that too. I'm a part of the, that hustle generation. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a side gig or building a business, but you have to understand that the last 3 years, actually not the last 3 years, I'm misspeaking, from 2019 to 2021, that was probably the easiest time ever to make money in sports cards and or collectibles as a whole. And I'll say that again, 2019 to 2021, the easiest time ever to make money in cards. Now, maybe there's dealers from 1990 or 91 that'll say, hey, hold on there. We actually did pretty well back in 1990. I just think with the added components of breaks and then also grading that you didn't have in 1990, there was a lot of arbitrage opportunities that were available a few years back that weren't there necessarily in 1990. And you've seen a lot of folks make a lot of money during that span of time. And a lot of young people have. But the problem with that, and when I say young people, I'm talking about teenagers and 20-somethings. Now, the problem with this is that it gives the impression that this is a normal thing. It gives the impression that this is just one of the cycles for cards. But you have to understand, if you look at historical data that's available through Terapeak and other sources, these prices were not typical at all. Very atypical. In fact, most of these cards, really, probably 99% of cards hit their all-time highs during this particular time frame. It drives me absolutely bonkers when I hear other content creators talk about ebbs and flows, and I've been in this for a long time, and I know that there's ups and downs. Because it's not genuine. It's not genuine in the sense that there hasn't been this sort of up ever in cards. So yeah, you can talk about the little hills, that we saw, over the last, 30 or 40 years, but you're talking about like Mount Everest that was built over the, from 2019 to 2021. There was never a Mount Everest seismic shift like that in sports card prices previous to that. And then of course, will there be that sort of shift again? Maybe. Nobody can predict the future. Maybe not. A lot of folks say it's never going to get back to that. Or maybe it'll be decades, and they could very well be right. During this time, a lot of the vlogging content, a lot of the show content has seen huge spikes in viewership. A lot of people love that content. I do too. I think it's very entertaining. But that's what you have to remember there. It's entertainment. That is not reality that you are watching. There might be pieces of that vlog that you're watching that are reality, but you don't know how those deals are really structured. You don't know if what you're watching was set up. I mean, look, we're in this world of reality TV, okay? Like, everything is scripted. And I'm not saying that all of these deals are scripted on these, card vlogs. I'm not saying that. But what if some are and what if some aren't? We don't know. You don't have the behind the scenes stuff. It's just kind of guesswork. But the problem is it's presented kind of this false reality. And who's watching a lot of that stuff? It's teenagers and it's 20-somethings. If I look at my YouTube analytics, the vast majority of my viewership is between 35 and 55. And then I've got a good chunk that are over 55. I do have some that are under 35, but I'm a 40, almost 42-year-old dad. The 20-year-old out there doesn't necessarily relate to me. I'm sitting here talking about big life stuff and parenting, and I'm wrapping that all in macroeconomic stuff. They don't care about that. They're 20. They know everything, right? I'm kidding. But the point is that the younger vloggers, the 20-somethings that are out there vlogging, I am willing to bet if they shared their YouTube analytics that the majority of their viewership is going to be the teenagers and the 20-somethings up to probably 35. And of course, there's guys like me that are older than that watch their stuff as well. I'm not knocking the actual content. It is entertaining. But again, I'm going to go back to young people and I'm not talking about, 16-year-olds. I'm talking about 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, grown adults that think that is as reality, that you can turn $2,000 of cards into $4,000 of cards very easily. And in 2020, 2021, that probably was true. But that is no longer true. And so I've talked about it on the channel. I like the shift downward to the lower end type flips. There's certainly flipping in cards. There always has been. There always will be. But first off, there's not really enough talk about like, wow, this show was really bad. I lost $2,000 at this show. There's kind of the bad news that's not really talked about because, you got to keep it positive, right? We have to, that's what we hear. You hear a lot about, content's got to be positive for the hobby and this and that and whatever. It doesn't have to all be. It can be a nice balanced equation. And frankly, that is just more authentic anyway. So I would love to see more of the vlogging that's like, wow, I got smoked at this show. I paid X amount for the tables. I traveled out here and then I came here and I sold one card for $38. And so I ended up losing $1,500 on this deal. But hey, we're on to the next show and that's part of my journey. Would love to see it. And then on the flipping side, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to buy a $3,000 card in the hopes that we can flip it for $3,300 in the afternoon. Like, I'm not ever going to tell anybody how to spend their money, but that is some insane risk. And Steve and I have talked about it on the live stream. Man, that is a tremendous amount of risk in today's day and age where really cash is king, folks. You can put your money into a CD and get 4%, 4.5%, 6 month, 12 month or whatever it is. I mean, we're now, it's all switched. We went from a time where borrowing money was extremely cheap, and in a span of 12 months, it got flipped on its head. And now it's actually a little bit expensive to borrow money in comparison to where we were. And then you had all the pandemic money flooded in. So you've got cheap borrowing accompanied with a bunch of extra cash into the economy. And here's where we are today. And now we're starting to pay for it. And so my worry is that we don't know exactly from a macroeconomic standpoint, we don't know what it's going to look like. I've been paying attention to what the Federal Reserve is saying. They have a really tricky mandate. They're trying to keep employment at a nice spot, but they're also trying to keep inflation down and prices down. And so it's kind of this decision of like, hey, do you want to keep your job or do you want to pay 75 cents more for eggs or whatever the case may be? And they're trying to balance this out. You saw this battle. They were talking with Congress about it. The Federal Reserve is arguing, hey, look, the unemployment rate is very, very low. It's still historically low. So we are okay with some pain on that side, which to the average person that's watching that is thinking like, what are you talking about? If it hits me in particular, yeah, I mean, the unemployment rate is low, so I guess I could go find another job, but I don't want to lose my job. So it's a little scary out there. And so again, I'm all for seeing more of kind of that low to mid-end flip game heating up and less of the, I just bought a $100,000 card to flip it for $200K or whatever. That might be stuff for the lifestyles of the rich and famous, but for the average card collector person that watches card content, probably not reality. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. I'll put a link to Flippin' Steve's video in the video description as well to check it out. I thought it was really good and insightful. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.